I remember the exact moment my marriage ended, though it would take months for the paperwork to confirm what died that Tuesday evening in our kitchen. Rachel stood by the sink, her arms crossed, her expression somewhere between fury and calculated coldness I'd never seen before. "You need to choose, Ethan. Right now. Me and the kids, or your sister." I stared at her, coffee mug halfway to my lips, certain I'd misheard. We'd been married 7 years. We had Emma, who was 5, and Noah, who'd just turned 3. We had a mortgage, shared bank accounts, a life built together brick by brick. And she was asking me to cut off Lily, my only living family, the woman who'd held my hand at both our parents' funerals. "What are you talking about?" I set the mug down carefully, aware that my hands were shaking slightly. "Your sister interferes in everything. She thinks she can control our lives, judge how I parent, criticize every decision we make. I'm done with it, Ethan. Either she goes, or I do." The accusation landed wrong, like a puzzle piece forced into the incorrect space. Lily was many things, organized to a fault, protective, occasionally overbearing, but she'd never once criticized Rachel's parenting. She lived 40 minutes away, worked 60-hour weeks as a senior accountant at Morrison & Hale, and saw the kids maybe twice a month. The last time we'd all been together was 3 weeks ago for Emma's ballet recital, where Lily had brought flowers and stayed for exactly 90 minutes before driving back to the city for an early client meeting. "Rachel, where is this coming from? Did something happen I don't know about?" Her jaw tightened. "So you're taking her side already? That's your answer, then?" "I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm trying to understand what's happening. This is coming out of nowhere." "It's not nowhere, Ethan. It's been building for years. Your mother spoiled her, made her think she's more important than anyone else, and now she thinks she has a say in our marriage. I won't live like this anymore." I felt something cold settle in my chest. My mother had died 8 months ago after a brutal 18-month fight with pancreatic cancer. My father had passed 4 years before that, sudden heart attack, gone before the ambulance arrived. Bringing Mom into this felt deliberately cruel, weaponized grief. "Mom's gone," I said quietly. "And Lily hasn't done anything to deserve this. If she's upset you somehow, we can talk about it together. But I'm not cutting off my only family because of some misunderstanding." Rachel's expression shifted into something I'd never seen before, pure, undisguised contempt. "Then you've made your choice." She walked out of the kitchen. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the bedroom door closing with deliberate softness that felt more ominous than a slam. I stood there for several minutes, trying to process what had just happened, searching my memory for warning signs I'd missed. Nothing made sense. I called Lily that night after Rachel had locked herself in the bedroom. My sister answered on the second ring, her voice sharp with immediate concern. "Ethan. What's wrong?" I gave her the abbreviated version, the ultimatum, the accusations, Rachel's sudden hostility. Lily went quiet for a long moment. "Ethan, I need to tell you something. I was going to call you this weekend, but, God, this is worse than I thought." The cold feeling in my chest expanded. "What's going on?" "I've been finalizing Mom's estate. You know I've been handling the legal and financial pieces since I'm the executor." She paused. 2 weeks ago, I found discrepancies. Transfers I couldn't account for. I spent the last 14 days tracking every transaction from Mom's accounts in the year before she died. My throat tightened. "Lily, just tell me." Rachel transferred $200,000 from Mom's estate account into a private account she opened 3 months before Mom passed away. The account is only in her name. She forged Mom's signature on the authorization forms, used your marriage certificate to claim spousal access rights, and moved the money in increments small enough to avoid automatic bank reviews. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. That's not possible. Mom's estate was $340,000 total. How could Rachel? Because Mom gave you access to help with medical bills and hospice care. Rachel had your login credentials. She created a secondary account, listed herself as the beneficiary of your portion of the inheritance, and siphoned it over 8 months. The bank's fraud investigation unit is already involved. I have documentation, Ethan. Bank statements, forged signatures, everything. I couldn't breathe properly. $200,000. My mother's life savings, built over 40 years of teaching elementary school, careful investments, a modest inheritance from my grandmother. Money meant to be split between Lily and me, to secure our futures, to help with the kids' education. When did you find out? I asked, my voice hoarse. Definitively. 2 weeks ago. I suspected something a month before that, but I had to verify everything with the bank and the estate lawyer before I said anything. I couldn't accuse Rachel without being absolutely certain. Did she know you found out? Another pause, heavier this time. Yes. I confronted her 6 days ago. I drove to your house while you were at work. I told her she needed to return the money immediately and come clean to you, or I'd be forced to involve law enforcement. Lily's voice cracked slightly. She threatened me, Ethan. She said if I told you, she'd make sure you never saw Emma or Noah again. She said she'd tell everyone you were psychologically dependent on me in an unhealthy way, that our relationship was inappropriate, that she feared for the children's safety around us. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. The ultimatum wasn't about Lily interfering. It was about silencing the only person who knew the truth. She's trying to isolate me, I said slowly. If I cut you off, you can't tell me about the money. If we're not speaking, she controls the narrative. That's exactly what she's doing. And Ethan, there's more. She's already started laying groundwork. She called my office 3 days ago claiming I was harassing her. She contacted your Aunt Susan and told her you've been emotionally dependent on me since Mom died and that she's concerned about your mental state. Susan called me yesterday asking if you were okay, if our relationship had inappropriate boundaries. Rage flooded through me, hot and disorienting. Rachel had met my family, attended holidays, held my hand at my mother's funeral. She'd cried with me, promised we'd get through the grief together. And the entire time, she'd been stealing from my dying mother and planning how to cover her tracks. What do? I asked. You get a lawyer, Lily said immediately. Tomorrow. First thing. I'll send you the name of the estate attorney I've been working with, Marcus Chen, specializes in financial fraud and family law. You document everything Rachel says and does from this point forward. You do not confront her about the money until Marcus says you're legally protected. And Ethan, her voice hardened. You do not back down. She's counting on you being too conflict-averse to fight back. Don't prove her right. Marcus Chen's office was in a glass tower downtown, all clean lines and expensive furniture that made me acutely aware of my off-the-rack suit. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with graying temples and the kind of sharp, assessing gaze that missed nothing. He listened to the whole story without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad with precise handwriting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Your wife is sophisticated in her approach, but she made critical mistakes. Forged signatures are felonies. Unauthorized access to estate accounts is theft. The bank's fraud unit involvement means there's already a paper trail law enforcement can follow. He flipped through the documents Lily had provided. The custody threats are textbook emotional manipulation, but they also establish a pattern of coercive behavior that will matter in divorce proceedings. Divorce. The word felt foreign in my mouth. Marcus met my eyes. Mr. Cole, your wife stole $200,000 from your deceased mother's estate and is threatening parental alienation to maintain her fraud. This marriage is already over. The only question is whether you're going to protect yourself and your children legally. I nodded slowly, feeling something fundamental shift inside me. What's the first step? We file for divorce and emergency custody evaluation simultaneously. We present the fraud evidence, bank statements, and documentation of her threats against your sister. We request a forensic accountant to review all marital assets and her separate accounts. And we prepare for her to escalate, because she will. He was right. I had the papers served at the house on a Saturday morning. Rachel opened the door expecting a delivery, took the envelope from the process server, and her face went through a remarkable transformation: confusion, recognition, shock, and then cold fury. She found me in the backyard with the kids. Emma was on the swing set, Noah was digging in his sandbox. Rachel walked out holding the papers, her hand trembling. You filed for divorce? I stood up, keeping my voice level. Yes. Because of whatever lies Lily told you. Because you stole $200,000 from my mother's estate and threatened my sister to cover it up. Her expression didn't change, which somehow made it worse. No denial, no shock, just calculation. You can't prove anything. The bank's fraud investigation already has the proof. Forged signatures, unauthorized transfers, a secret account in your name only. Marcus Jen has everything. Something flickered in her eyes, fear, maybe, quickly suppressed. If you go through with this, I'll make sure you regret it. I'll tell everyone what you really are. I'll make sure Emma and Noah know their father chose his sister over their mother. I'm choosing the truth, I said quietly. That's all. She left without another word. An hour later, my phone started ringing. The campaign Rachel launched was methodical and vicious. She called my Aunt Susan, my Uncle Robert, my cousins I barely spoke to anymore, and Rachel's own family, delivering a carefully crafted narrative. I was having a breakdown. Lily was manipulating me. The divorce was my sister's idea because she'd always been jealous of our marriage. Rachel was terrified for the children's safety. Within a week, I received calls from 3 family members suggesting I seek psychiatric help. Rachel's mother left a voicemail demanding I stop this insanity before I destroyed my children's lives. My cousin Jennifer sent a long text about how grief could distort reality and maybe I should consider therapy before making irreversible decisions. No one asked to see the bank statements. No one questioned Rachel's story. They just accepted her version and decided I was the problem. The exception was Lily, who fielded her own barrage of hostile calls. Rachel's sister accused her of breaking up a family. Uncle Robert told her she should be ashamed of herself for exploiting my grief. Aunt Susan stopped returning her messages entirely. They don't want to believe it, Lily said during one of our nightly phone calls. Believing Rachel is a thief means they've been fooled. It's easier to decide we're the crazy ones. How are you holding up? I asked. I'm fine. I've dealt with worse audits than Rachel Cole's family. She paused. How are the kids? That was the hardest part. Emma had started asking why Mommy was crying all the time. Noah clung to me whenever Rachel was in the room. The house felt like a minefield, every conversation a potential detonation. They know something's wrong, I admitted. I'm trying to keep things normal, but Rachel's making it impossible. Document it, Lily said. Every time she cries in front of them, every time she says something about you or me. Marcus needs records. Rachel requested a family meeting. Not through lawyers, through her mother, who called me directly and asked if I'd be willing to talk things through like adults, before the legal process became unnecessarily complicated. Marcus advised against it. She's looking for ammunition. Anything you say will be twisted and used against you. But part of me, the part that remembered 7 years of marriage, of building a life together, thought maybe there was a chance for honesty. Maybe if I heard her admit what she'd done, explain why, there could be some kind of closure. I agreed to meet at a neutral location, a conference room at a local library. Rachel brought her mother and her sister, Claire. I brought Lily and Marcus. We sat across a table like opposing legal teams. Rachel's eyes were red-rimmed, her face pale. She'd lost weight. She looked devastated, and I felt a treacherous flicker of sympathy before I remembered why we were there. Rachel's mother spoke first. Ethan, this has gone too far. You're tearing apart your family over financial misunderstandings and Lily's interference. Rachel made some mistakes with the estate account, yes, but this is not worth destroying your children's lives. Some mistakes. Lily's voice was ice. She stole $200,000 and forged legal documents. Claire leaned forward. That's your interpretation. Rachel was trying to protect family assets during a difficult time. She had Ethan's best interests at heart. By hiding the money in a secret account with only her name on it. Marcus opened his folder. Let's review the timeline. Mrs. Cole opened a private account 3 months before Ethan's mother passed away. She began transferring funds from the estate while Mrs. Cole was in hospice care, unable to review financial statements. She forged authorization signatures. She never disclosed the account to her husband. When confronted by Ms. Lily Cole, she responded with threats of parental alienation. These are not mistakes. These are calculated crimes. Rachel finally spoke, her voice breaking. I was scared. Mom was dying, money was disappearing into medical bills, and I didn't know what would happen to us. I panicked. It was a good performance, I could see her mother and sister nodding sympathetically. But I'd lived with Rachel for 7 years. I knew when she was lying. The medical bills were covered by insurance and hospice, I said quietly. We had financial stability. You didn't take the money out of fear. You took it because you wanted it. Her expression hardened for just a fraction of a second before the mask of devastation returned. How can you say that? After everything we've built together, you're going to believe Lily over me. I believe the bank statements. I believe the forged signatures. I believe the fraud investigation. Rachel's mother stood up abruptly. This is pointless. You've clearly made up your mind. But when those children ask why their family fell apart, I hope you have a better answer than, Daddy chose his sister over Mommy. They left. The library conference room felt cavernous in their absence. Marcus closed his folder. Well, that was exactly as productive as I expected. She didn't deny any of it, I said slowly. Not really. She just reframed it as understandable. That'll be her strategy throughout, Marcus said. Admission through minimization. Yes, but it wasn't that bad. Yes, but I had reasons. Yes, but you're overreacting. Don't let it work. The divorce proceedings officially began in early October. Rachel hired an aggressive attorney named Donald Pearson, known for high-conflict custody cases and scorched-earth tactics. Their strategy became clear immediately: paint me as psychologically unstable, claim Lily exerted undue influence over my decisions, and argue that Rachel's financial missteps were being blown out of proportion by a vindictive sibling. They filed a motion requesting a psychological evaluation for me and Lily, claiming our enmeshed relationship raised concerns about appropriate boundaries around the children. They subpoenaed my therapy records from grief counseling after Mom died. They contacted Emma's kindergarten teacher asking if I'd exhibited concerning behavior during pickup. Marcus had warned me about this. When the facts aren't on their side, they attack character. Stay calm, document everything, and trust the process. The custody evaluation was invasive and exhausting. Dr. Patricia Morrison, a court-appointed psychologist, interviewed me for 6 hours across 3 sessions. She interviewed Rachel. She interviewed the kids separately. She toured both houses. She reviewed financial records, text messages, emails, and witness statements. During my second session, she asked directly, "What's your relationship with your sister like?" "Lily's my best friend," I said honestly. "She's the only family I have left from my parents. We're close, but we have separate lives. She's focused on her career, I'm focused on my kids. We talk a few times a week, see each other a couple times a month. That's it." Rachel claims Lily makes major decisions about your life and your children's lives. Is that accurate? No. Lily gives advice when I ask for it, same as any close sibling would. But I make my own decisions. I always have. Dr. Morrison made notes. Tell me about the estate situation. I walked her through the timeline: Mom's death, Lily serving as executor, the discovery of the fraud, Rachel's threats. I provided bank statements, legal documents, everything Marcus had compiled. "How did you feel when you learned about the theft?" she asked. Betrayed. Furious. Heartbroken. I paused, choosing words carefully. My mother worked her entire life to leave something for her children. Rachel stole that while Mom was dying. It's not just about the money, it's about the violation of trust, the dishonoring of my mother's memory. More notes. And the divorce decision, was that influenced by Lily? The divorce decision was mine. Lily provided evidence and recommended a lawyer, but the choice to end my marriage was entirely my own. I can't stay with someone who stole from my dying mother and threatened to take my children away. While the evaluation dragged on, Rachel escalated her public campaign. She posted vague messages on social media about staying strong through betrayal and protecting children from toxic influences. She organized a sympathetic interview with a local parenting blog, portraying herself as a devoted mother fighting against a husband controlled by his manipulative sister. The article didn't name me directly, but everyone we knew recognized the details. I received concerned messages from old friends, awkward questions from coworkers, pitying looks at Emma's school events. "Is it true your sister is trying to break up your family?" a fellow parent asked me at the Halloween carnival, her tone dripping with judgment. "No," I said flatly. "My wife committed financial fraud, and I filed for divorce. Anything else you've heard is manipulation." She looked unconvinced. Rachel's narrative was simpler, more emotionally satisfying: devoted wife victimized by cruel husband and jealous sister. The truth was complicated, messy, and required examining uncomfortable evidence. Most people preferred the simple story. The breaking point came in late November, the week before Thanksgiving. Rachel organized what she called a community intervention, a gathering of family and friends meant to convince me to drop the divorce and get help. I arrived at her parents' house to find 20 people in the living room: Rachel's entire extended family, my aunt and uncle, several mutual friends, and even our former marriage counselor from 3 years ago when we'd had a rough patch over work-life balance. Rachel sat in the center, looking small and fragile. Everyone else stared at me with varying degrees of concern and hostility. Her father gestured to an empty chair. "Ethan, please sit. We're all here because we care about you and want to help." I remained standing. "Help with what, exactly?" "With whatever crisis you're experiencing," Aunt Susan said gently. "Honey, we know you've been through trauma with your parents passing. Grief can make us do things we wouldn't normally do. But divorcing Rachel, accusing her of these terrible things, it's not like you. Have any of you looked at the evidence?" I asked. "The bank statements, the forged signatures, the fraud investigation." Uncomfortable silence. Then Rachel's brother spoke up. "We've heard Lily's accusations, yes. But there are always two sides to financial disagreements. The way you're handling this, cutting Rachel off, letting your sister dictate your decisions, that's not healthy." "I'm not cutting Rachel off. I'm divorcing her because she stole $200,000 from my mother's estate." I turned to my uncle. "Uncle Robert, you were at Mom's funeral. You knew how hard she worked, how much she wanted to leave something for her kids. Doesn't it bother you that someone stole that?" He shifted uncomfortably. "If there was genuine theft, the courts will sort it out. But destroying your marriage, traumatizing Emma and Noah, that seems like an extreme reaction to what might be a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I laughed, the sound harsh. "She forged legal documents. She hid money in a secret account. She threatened to take my children away if I found out. What part of that is a misunderstanding?" Rachel started crying, soft sobs that made everyone's attention shift to her. "I was trying to protect us," she whispered. "The medical bills were so high, I was scared, I made mistakes, but I never meant to hurt anyone. And now Ethan wants to punish me forever, take my children, destroy everything we built." "You destroyed it yourself," I said quietly. The former marriage counselor, Dr. Stevens, leaned forward. "Ethan, I'm hearing a lot of anger. That's understandable. But I'm also hearing absolutist thinking: she destroyed everything, I can never forgive this." That kind of black and white perspective often indicates underlying psychological distress. I stared at him. "You're suggesting I'm mentally unstable because I won't forgive theft and fraud?" "I'm suggesting you might benefit from examining why you're allowing this situation to escalate rather than seeking reconciliation. Marriage requires forgiveness, compromise. Marriage requires honesty," I interrupted. "Something Rachel hasn't provided in over a year." Rachel's mother stood up, her voice sharp. "Enough. Ethan, if you proceed with this divorce, if you continue destroying Rachel's reputation with these accusations, we will make sure every custody evaluator, every judge, every person involved knows exactly what kind of man you are. We will fight you on every single point. Your children will grow up knowing their father chose pride and vindictiveness over their family." The threat hung in the air. I looked around the room at all these people I'd known for years, people who'd attended our wedding, celebrated our children's births, shared holidays and milestones. And not one of them had asked to see evidence. Not one had questioned Rachel's story. They'd already decided I was the villain. "I'm done here," I said, heading toward the door. "Ethan, wait," Aunt Susan started. "No. You've made it clear whose side you're on. When the truth comes out, and it will, I hope you remember this moment." I left. My hands were shaking so hard I had to pull over 2 blocks away just to breathe. Lily called 10 minutes later. Marcus just got a call from Pearson. They're filing a motion claiming tonight's intervention proves you're refusing psychological treatment and demonstrates concerning judgment. How bad was it? 20 people telling me I'm crazy for divorcing a thief. I closed my eyes. They're all going to testify against me, aren't they? Probably. But Ethan, we have the evidence. We have the bank statements, the forensic accountant's report, the fraud investigation findings. The truth matters more than their opinions. Does it? Because right now it feels like everyone believes her version no matter what proof we have. Then we make the proof impossible to ignore. Marcus filed a motion for a public evidentiary hearing, specifically requesting that all financial evidence be entered into public record and that witness testimony be subject to cross-examination under oath. Rachel's legal team fought it aggressively, but the judge agreed, noting that the seriousness of the fraud allegations warranted transparent examination. The hearing was scheduled for January 12. Marcus spent 6 weeks preparing, assembling every document, every bank statement, every communication. He deposed the bank's fraud investigator. He hired a forensic handwriting expert to analyze the forged signatures. He built a case so airtight that even Rachel's family would have to face reality. Christmas was bleak. I had the kids for Christmas Eve, Rachel had them Christmas Day. Emma asked why we couldn't all be together like last year. Noah cried when I dropped them off at Rachel's parents' house. I spent Christmas night at Lily's apartment, both of us pretending we weren't devastated. This is the worst year of my life, I said, staring at the ceiling of her guest room at 2 a.m. Lily appeared in the doorway. I know. But it gets better. I promise. How do you know? Because you're standing up for the truth. Because you're protecting your kids from growing up thinking this kind of behavior is acceptable. Because you're not letting her win. She sat on the edge of the bed. Mom would be proud of you. I felt tears burn behind my eyes. I miss her. I know. Me too. The evidentiary hearing took place in a packed courtroom. Rachel's entire family attended, along with several of our mutual friends. Lily sat directly behind Marcus and me, her presence a steady anchor. Marcus presented methodically. Bank statements showing the transfers. Signature analysis proving forgery. Testimony from the bank's fraud investigator confirming unauthorized access. The forensic accountant's report detailing exactly how Rachel had structured the theft to avoid detection. Rachel's attorney tried to discredit the evidence, claiming the signatures were ambiguous, that Rachel had verbal permission from my mother, that the account was meant to be a surprise savings fund for the children's education. Then Marcus called Rachel to the stand. Mrs. Cole, when did you open the account ending in 7734? I don't recall the exact date. Sometime in 2023. Bank records show March 15, 2023, 3 months before Ethan's mother entered hospice care. Is that accurate? A pause. I suppose so. And whose name is on that account? Mine. Not your husband's? No. Why not, if it was meant for your joint family's benefit? I wanted to manage it separately. For organization. Marcus pulled up a document on the screen. This is the account's transaction history. The first deposit was $18,000 on March 22, 2023, transferred from Mrs. Virginia Cole's estate account. Did you have authorization from Virginia Cole to make that transfer? Rachel's jaw tightened. She was very ill. I was helping manage finances. That's not what I asked. Did you have explicit, documented authorization to transfer her money into an account only you could access? It was complicated. Yes or no, Mrs. Cole? I was trying to protect family assets. Your Honor, please instruct the witness to answer the question. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Cole, answer the question directly. Rachel's face flushed. No. I didn't have explicit written authorization. Marcus continued relentlessly. Did you tell your husband about this account? Not initially. Did you tell him before your sister-in-law discovered it 8 months after his mother's death? No. When Ms. Lily Cole confronted you about the transfers, what did you say? I don't remember exactly. Marcus pulled out a printed text message. This is a message you sent to Ms. Cole on September 3rd, 2 days after she confronted you. I'll read it aloud. If you tell Ethan about this, I will make sure he never sees his children again. I will destroy you and your sick relationship with my husband. Back off. He looked up. Is that an accurate representation of your response? The courtroom was dead silent. Rachel's mother made a small sound of distress. I was upset, Rachel said, her voice barely audible. I felt attacked. You felt attacked by someone discovering you'd stolen $200,000, so you threatened parental alienation. I wasn't thinking clearly. But you were thinking clearly enough to move money over 8 months in carefully structured increments to avoid bank fraud alerts. Clearly enough to forge signatures on authorization documents. Clearly enough to hide the account from your husband for over a year. Rachel didn't answer. Tears streamed down her face, but her expression was hard, calculating. Marcus turned to the judge. No further questions. The judge's ruling came 2 weeks later. Full accounting of marital assets, with the $200,000 to be returned to the estate and properly divided. Recommendation for primary custody to me, with Rachel receiving supervised visitation pending completion of a psychological evaluation and parenting classes. Restraining order preventing either party from disparaging the other to the children or third parties. Rachel's attorney immediately filed an appeal, but the damage was done. The evidence was public record. The transcript of Rachel's testimony was available to anyone who requested it. Rachel's family stopped calling me. Some sent awkward apology texts, most just went silent. Aunt Susan called Lily crying, begging forgiveness. Uncle Robert sent a stiff email acknowledging he'd misjudged the situation. The people who mattered most, the custody evaluator, the judge, the legal system, had seen the truth. That was enough. The divorce was finalized in April. I got primary custody with a structured visitation schedule for Rachel. The $200,000 was returned to the estate and properly divided. Rachel was ordered to pay restitution for legal fees and attend a financial ethics course as part of her probation agreement with the district attorney's office, which had filed criminal charges for the forgery. She never apologized. Not once. In every interaction, she maintained that she'd been trying to protect the family, that I'd overreacted, that Lily had poisoned me against her. She told the kids I'd forced her out of their lives, that Daddy didn't want them to have a mommy anymore. The parental alienation attempts led to further custody restrictions. Emma started therapy to process the divorce. Noah was young enough that he adjusted quickly to the new normal. I sold the house, too many memories, too much toxicity, and bought a smaller place closer to Lily's neighborhood. Emma and Noah each got their own rooms. We planted a garden in the backyard. Slowly, carefully, we built a new life. It's been 2 years now. Emma is 7, confident and bright. Noah is 5, still my shadow. Rachel sees them every other weekend under supervised visitation. She's in a new relationship, posting carefully curated photos on social media showing her resilience and growth. She still hasn't admitted what she did. Not to me, not to the kids, not even to herself, as far as I can tell. She exists in a reality where she's the victim, where I destroyed our family over a misunderstanding, where Lily manipulated everything. I used to think I needed her to acknowledge the truth. To say, just once, I stole from you. I lied to you. I'm sorry. But I've realized that her acknowledgement isn't necessary for my healing. The truth exists independently of her acceptance of it. Last week, Emma brought home a family tree project from school. She'd drawn me and Noah and herself, and off to the side, carefully colored in purple, she'd drawn Lily. Is Aunt Lily family? She asked while we hung it on the refrigerator. Absolutely, I said. She's one of the most important people in our lives. Good. Because I love her. Me too, sweetheart. That night, after the kids were in bed, I called Lily. Thank you, I said. For everything. For finding the truth, for standing with me, for not backing down when everyone told you to. You're my brother, she said simply. That's what family does. I thought about Rachel, about the family she'd manipulated and the one I'd rebuilt. About the difference between people who use the word family as a weapon and people who live it as a promise. Yeah, I said. It is. The inheritance money sits in trust funds for Emma and Noah now, managed by a professional fiduciary, untouchable until they turn 25. My mother's legacy, protected. I think she'd be satisfied with that. I think she'd be proud of the choice I made, not the choice Rachel tried to force on me, but the one I made myself, to stand for the truth, to protect my children, to honor the people who genuinely loved me. It cost me a marriage, relationships with extended family, a year of legal hell, and countless sleepless nights. But I kept my integrity. I kept my sister. I kept my kids. I chose the life I wanted to build, not the one someone else tried to trap me in. And that, ultimately, is the only choice that mattered.